When it comes to the game we love, having the right gear makes all the difference.
Gold Line's new curling shoes and brooms are a game changer.
The shoes, unbelievably comfortable.
And the brooms, lightweight and effective, giving you control on every sweep.
When I step onto the ice, I'm not just prepared, I look sharp.
Have you seen these shoes? They are a game changer.
And the brooms? Light as a feather.
It's a Gold Line.
It's a Gold Line.
It's a Gold Line.
And is the choice of champions.
Final stone.
Does he have it? Yes, he does! What a shot! John Schuster! Oh my goodness! A third of a rock for...
That would make sense when I did curl.
Well, we gotta not kill that. It's gotta just be in the catch zone.
I mean, my gut is like hack to board and just roll 3 feet. 2 feet.
Yeah? Yeah, I think it's probably just hack.
You're always touching the 6.
I don't know that this leaves the 4 foot with hack.
Really good spots for Miller.
I think John's in a situation where he needs to send one of the right guards back.
Oh, baby.
Yeah, and it's dead nose and just, it's gonna go spinning. This actually might catch two and just leak back.
I think it does. Here.
Okay, so it might, close to dead.
To hammer something.
Extra focus of the players, because sometimes you just couldn't hear yourself thinking, and we needed to like use signs and show what we meant instead of just shouting out a number or like play this hit and roll kind of thing. We had to show everything, so that added another level, I guess, to our game. After that, we've been a little better when the crowd is loud or when you can't hear as well.
Johnson on this one here.
Can't hear yet for line ever.
No, they like line. Now does it have the speed? They like the line. Does it have the speed? They're going hard for line. You have to get by this top yellow. Trevor Johnson leaning on it. He's by it. Now does it stop in time? Has to stop in time. What a shot from Ryland Kleider. We thought it was maybe the hardest option up from the booth, but that's why we're not down there.
I've stood at the pinnacle of curling and battled in the most intense games.
Out on the ice, there's no room for compromise.
And when the pressure's on, every millimeter counts.
It's not just a game.
It's about maximizing performance,
Pushing limits.
Seizing victory.
When victory hangs in the balance,
I know what I'm relying on.
It's a Gold Line. It's a Gold Line. It's a Gold Line.
And it's the choice of champions.
Throwing the red rocks for the record of AMJ, curling out of Busan, Germany, Team Muskatewitz. Ladies and gentlemen, please, you can cheer as loud as you want for your favorite curlers, but no flash photography. And to the curlers, as always, good luck and good curling.
Hello, curling fans, and welcome back inside the Mattamy Athletic Centre here in Toronto, Ontario for the AMJ Campbell Players Championship, the 5th and final event on the Grand Slam of curling calendar. It is a fantastic men's draw 8 game between 0-2 Mark Muskatewitz and 1-1 Team Ross Whyte. John Cullen alongside 2018 Olympic gold medalist Tyler George. And Tyler, we know the format of the Players Championship a little more unforgiving. Only 6 teams make the playoffs here, and so for Mark Muskatewitz sitting at 0-2, this is a must-win game for them.
Yeah, and of course with the slams, there's no let up at any point with your draw either. And coming out and playing Ross Whyte here in this morning game, desperation time for them, as you said.
Yeah, it is Ross Whyte, who is coming off the win at the WFG Masters. Good look at their lineup here from Stirling, Scotland. Skip is Ross Whyte, third is Robin Bryden, second is Duncan McFadgen, and lead is Ewan Kyle. And on the other side of the sheet, from Füssen, Germany, it's Team Muskatewitz. The skip is Mark Muskatewitz, the third, Benny Kapp, the second, Felix Messenziel, and the lead, Johannes Scheuel. And it'll be Scheuel who gets us started here as Ross Whyte begins the game with hammer.
Yeah, we talked a little pregame already, John, about this German squad and how aggressive they play. We saw them at the World Championships. 4-1 lead, 2-1 lead, 8-1 lead, doesn't matter. They're going to keep drawing no matter what. Very, very entertaining to watch their games, and playing against high caliber teams, sometimes they get caught with this stuff, and you're going to give up 2s, 3s, and 4s, and you play against teams that execute really well if you just continue to draw, but you're going to score those points too.
Yeah, no question. Love to have rocks in play, and I would say, Tyler, probably the best game that I called all year was with you back in St. John's, and it did feature this Mark Muskatewitz team playing against another team that loves to draw and keep rocks in play, Michael Brunner. That was a fantastic game, tons of rocks in play, lots of made shots. And yeah, this is a German team, not just that they love to have rocks in play, Tyler, but a team that is not afraid to freeze to try to get themselves out of trouble. And like you said, that can lead to giving up some big ends, but it's also a really fun style to watch. They're coming in ranked as the world number 8, Ross Whyte sitting at number 5. And as we said off the top, coming off of that huge win at the WFG Masters, their first slam win, riding a real high. They rode that to winning the Scottish National Championship not too long after that WFG Masters, defeating Bruce Mowat in the final there.
So a little bit of a surprise here, hitting a stone in the back of the 8-foot early in the game. Just like they wanted to show they could do something different.
Yeah, maybe at 0-2, Tyler, just feeling like want to slow things down a little bit here against Team Whyte. It is also the first end. Sometimes the teams like to get a feel of the ice. We talked about this yesterday, but the ice has been good, but a little bit challenging. I think some of the teams have had some issues getting their ice reading down, so we'll see if maybe that's part of the strategy for the Germans as well, just wanting to see how the sheet is going to behave here. This early morning draw, it is just after 8 a.m. local time here in Toronto.
And you tend to see teams more conservative for the first draw of the day, too, at these events. They want to see what the ice is going to give them. You never assume that it's going to be the same day to day or even draw to draw, but especially for the early morning draw, try to get a feel for the conditions before you get too aggressive. So even a team like Muskatewitz might get slowed down just a touch before they get comfortable out there.
So again, we will see Felix Messenziel chase this rock in the back 12.
This one's going to roll off as well, so see if Whyte decides to go underneath, and they do, so playing a little more aggressive.
Yeah, also not a team to be afraid of having rocks in play, this Team Whyte. Coming off of a tough loss yesterday to Marco Husley. I know you called the 8th end of that game, and that's probably one that Whyte would feel like got away from them. Had a really good steal opportunity with Ross Whyte's last in the 8th, and unfortunately hung a draw a little wide, and it set up a double for Philip Husley to win. Wasn't an easy double, but he did make it. And
well, quarter rock slashes are never something you want to be throwing for the win, but Yeah, you're absolutely right, John. They just kind of mismanaged the final draw. Definitely could have either turned it over earlier in the shot or just carried it farther. If it buries at all, they don't have the shot that they did, but credit for making the quarter rock slash for a double for the win. Yeah, my first time switching games during
double duty
a draw, going back and forth, as certain debuting broadcasters had to leave during the game and leave Brent Lang on his own.
Yeah. You're a good teammate.
Yeah, we're a team up here.
That's right. Duncan McFadgen coming a little bit light on that come-around attempt, so now Felix Messenziel will have the opportunity to do the same. And it's a staggered guard now, so a decent situation here for the Germans without the hammer in the first.
I would imagine Mark lit up when he saw that draw come up short. Staggers, so they're allowed to come around and get Whyte chasing. This one's going to go a little deep, though. Probably have to play this draw underneath, though, John. If you chase that back stone, the Germans get another chance to go underneath. So every bit as much about what is your opponent going to do than what are we trying to accomplish.
Yeah, this Team Muskatewitz, one of the busiest schedules on tour this year, if not the busiest. This is their 17th event of the season. And they've only not qualified in 2 of them. One of them, the Shorty Jenkins Classic, all the way back in October in Cornwall, and then the World Championships. Those are the only 2 they didn't qualify in. They are the European champions as well. They made the playoffs in both of their first 2 slams in St. John's and Guelph. So it's been a great year for them, I believe. I was talking to someone yesterday. They started the year ranked 40th, and they're currently ranked 8th. So that is one of the biggest jumps that you'll ever see in competitive curling. It's really tough to accrue points with how good the top teams are, and Muskatewitz has got themselves firmly in that conversation.
Yeah, staggering amount of consistency throughout so many events that they played in. You can kind of throw out a non-qualifier back in October, way more about what you're doing recently. The World Championships is a different story. That was last week.
Yeah.
A disappointing result for them, definitely, in Moose Jaw, but a young team that we expect their best years to be ahead of them, and that's something we commented on a lot at the Worlds, was they're ahead of schedule for what you would expect for a team at this age. The only, if you want to call him a veteran on the squad, would be Mark, I believe 29 years old.
Yep.
And the rest of the squad, I mean, all mid-early 20s. You would expect that the next quad would be one where big things would be on tap for this team.
Yeah, no question. The other 3 team members just coming out of silver medal at the World Juniors. Back in 22 and 23, they won back-to-back silver medals with Benny skipping, and then as they aged out of juniors last year, started playing with Mark. So there's an opportunity for Whyte here. They were kind of debating about exactly where they wanted to put this rock. They are sitting second shot, though.
Yeah, it looks like Robin's just playing a tap and roll or clean draw, either or. Really want to get underneath. Don't want to be behind the tee line on this line, though. Both teams getting a little surprised by the speed early in this game.
So Whyte now sitting 2 and 3.
Checking to see how much they can see of both of those yellow stones, but there's a pretty big area they can throw a draw underneath these guards and get a good result. Be pretty surprised if they didn't draw. Don't play a drinking game to that statement when this team is playing either.
It's a little early for that.
Yeah, this coffee's doing just fine. This one is not going to be deep. Sweeper's really trying to carry it. Great line if you can get to the 4 foot.
Love to just at least outcount those other 2 Whyte stones, and I don't think they did.
Yeah, that's going to be dangerous now. Whyte can make a play on this #1 counter.
So that was maybe a bit of an unconventional strategy with Robin's first one to ignore the shot stone and go around the corner guards, but paying off almost instantly as Benny Cap comes up light.
Yeah, it's kind of a dare shot. If we're going to make this, you better make yours, even though it got deep. And they got the miss. Now if they make this, we'll be sitting 3.
You and Kyle leaning on this one now. Oh boy, that's a huge error from Robin Bryden.
And that's more of the traditional miss that we see early in slam games too, John. When you get those soft weight hits that are starting around the edge of the 4 foot or a little bit inside of it, they tend to take off and the speed comes off. And that was the miss that we saw from Robin there.
Halbtreffen geht, Trümmer nicht.
Was selbst du? Ja, Paper vorbei. Was selbst wenn du den Roll machst, aber er muss erst machen. Da gibt's denen genau das Pocket da rein. Sehr gerade hier.
So it looks like Mark Muskatewitz is going to try the double here. Or even just a hit and roll on top of this yellow.
Ja, Paper in der Guard vorbei. Stück weniger.
So perhaps handed a lifeline here was Mark Muskatewitz. Whyte was going to be set up for a nice end if Robin Bryden had made that hit and roll inside. He does not. First stone for Mark Muskatewitz here in the first. Can't get by the guard by too much, and they don't. What a shot from Mark Muskatewitz.
Had to be really tight to the guards to make that. Spins up into the 4 foot.
Yeah, really good. Muskatewitz lying 4. My German isn't great, but I did hear Mark say paper the guard in English, and it's usually not a call you love to say. Well, if we just paper the guard, it'll be no problem. But that's exactly what happened there. Lovely shot.
Ross can get himself out of danger with a good shot here. Has a stopper. Just don't want to throw this one too hard. Even a hit and a little flop underneath is good, but awfully tight broom. Maybe taking the ice out of it a little bit by playing more weight. With that stagger, though, John, it is possible if you hit the first one too thick to go over the top, which you really don't want to do.
So Ross Whyte playing a little hit and flop.
Hitting too thick is not going to be a problem.
That's really good from Ross Whyte. Great shot back.
Now, that was the idea, to get that little spin up and bury underneath the guards.
Yeah, that was a good look at it from the far angle here. You can see that is dead and gone behind 3 other stones. So now I almost think, Tyler, the talk here for Muskatewitz is, how do we not give up 2?
debating between playing the freeze and trying to get shot rock or just throwing top 8 and taking the draw path away. There isn't a spot they can throw it where they don't leave a shot for 2 if it's not frozen on that yellow stone. They can make it tougher. If you make them go out wider, at least they're making them play a draw path that they won't know and a speed they won't know. So I think that's the idea right now, is they're just trying to leave it somewhere that makes that draw really difficult.
Ja, soll er machen, ist ganz neue Spur draußen.
Yes, you can see where Benny's pointing there. They just want it kind of on the CU of the Grand Slam of Curling logo there in the top of the rings. And as you said, Tyler, pretty precise shot here. If you're ever too deep, it's just an open hit for 2. And if you're light, it increases the scoring area for Ross Whyte. This is maybe curling a little more than they wanted.
That's good, so.
Whyte was really good, just over curled a smidge, and so Ross Whyte will have almost the full of the side 4 available to himself, and he doesn't need much more than full 8 here, Tyler.
Yeah, basically full 8. Call it deep 8.
Yeah.
Don't have to quite touch the 4-foot. But it's a pretty good spot. If it hangs a little more, they could still come through that port.
Der Tagout hat ja auch so viel gekühlt auf Nase.
So you heard Duncan say that Mark's shot was 14-7, which is about full keen. And we ran into this yesterday, Tyler, in the Einarson-Kim game that we were calling, that normally you expect when you throw a draw a little more out into the wings, especially early on in the game, that it's going to be a little slower. But you kind of indicated yesterday, a lot of times on slam ice, that's not the case. And that seems to be the case here as well, as Duncan suggesting that it's up to full keen, which made Ross feel a little more comfortable playing this turn.
Yeah, I wouldn't throw any less than what you would throw on the draw the button path, honestly, from what we've seen for 3 days now.
So we'll see if Ross Whyte up to the task here. Final stone in the first end. Needs deep 8 for 2.
Line's great.
They like the line. You and Kyle just off and on here, which is usually a good sign. And Ross Whyte trusting his sweepers, and they get it right in the 4-foot. So it will be 2 for Ross Whyte. Mark Muskatewitz will have the hammer for the first time when we come back.
The 2025-2026 Grand Slam of Curling schedule is out, with big events happening all over Canada, like the Masters heading to London in September, the Tour Challenge from Nisku this October, the Canadian Open from Saskatoon in December, and the Players' Championship from Steinbeck coming in January. Early bird weekend and full event passes on sale now at gsoctickets.com. Let's rock!
So a good first end for Team Ross Whyte. Had to pivot strategy a couple times, but found their way to the deuce. They lead 2-0. Mark Muskatewitz with the hammer here in the second.
Yeah, really interesting end. Seemed like both teams kind of changed tactics multiple times during that end based on what they had available. Really nice draw from Ross Whyte on their last shot, and again trusting that the speed was going to be the same on that outer track coming to the side of the 4-foot. Didn't really see anything different from what we saw going to the draw the button path.
We'll see how the Germans respond here. You talked earlier, Tyler, about how aggressive they like to play, and I do wonder if being down too early maybe ratchets that up even a little more.
I don't know how you can go to another level of aggressiveness from what we've seen from them in the past. So basically it's just the switch is on, which very rarely do we see it off. That one a little tight for the corner guard, so might see two stacked on that side. And this is what you want to do against this team too, John. If you can get out ahead, beat them into the house, keep them chasing your stones. I know we talk about that all the time in the booth, but specifically against this team, one that loves to get a lot of rocks in play and keep you chasing. Get that first stone that's going into the house right into the 4-foot undercover. Make it hard for the Germans to count multiple stones at any point, because they're going to try.
That one comes up a little short for you and Kyle, but it is in behind that center guard. So you can hear actually two different conversations going on there. It's Ross Whyte talking to you and Kyle behind the house, but then Duncan McFadgen talking to Robin Bryden on the way back down the sheet. And they're weirdly in sync there, thinking that they felt like they couldn't drag the rock. And we have seen that here so far this week, that this is not amazing sweeping ice for distance. And they both just kind of felt like it was top 4, but then slowed down in the top 8, not where they were expecting it.
That's been a consistent thing too, seeing sweepers off a stone and then panic sweeping in the last 5 to 10 feet, and the rock stopping short of where they want to go.
That one a little deep for Johanna Scheuel. This will be a chase now for Duncan McFadgen.
Clean, 11.5. Clean, yep.
Reach coming down. 12 now. 12 now. Hard.
This one getting close to the guard too.
Yep,
Ooh.
Little indecision there, thinking, oh, we're on the guard. Oh, maybe we're not.
Called them off at the end to maybe get a click in off the guard, and then it got by anyway. That's the chuckling there you see from Ross Whyte.
Just like I wanted to call it. Just like we planned.
Hey, what's it? Was the weight's coming off and you almost need to be a touch firmer at your arm, like. Yeah, no, you were. And it come down to like, well, you don't even put it out of play. Whoa. I'll tell him to quieten down, don't worry.
So looking for the run back, but Felix Messenziel just maybe a little wide out of the hand. You heard Mark Muskatewitz say whoa immediately, and Whyte continues to lie to here.
Top of the logo. That's just a slither less than you had got.
Yeah, Team Whyte really has it going right now, and again, even though those rocks are in the 8-foot, you're still keeping Muskatewitz from being able to use the corner guards, keeping them chasing.
On the logo. Line's just a hair narrow goal, like.
Line's good. Line only. Robin close. Halfway.
Top of the logo's great.
Just short of the logo.
Top of the logo, you're great.
Yeah.
Light just
on it. This is start.
Not sure I've ever heard a team so focused on having the rock on the logo, the AMJ Campbell logo there in front of the house.
Yeah, that logo looks pretty good with a curling rock at the top.
I agree.
Too.
Yeah, maybe AMJ should look into adding that permanently.
In
In any case, ended up in the perfect spot for Duncan McFadgen. They're still talking about the logos. And Felix Messenziel gets rid of 2 of them. Pretty good shot. Does leave his red on the center line, though. And Whyte still sitting 1.
Top button.
Top 4.
Top button.
Another chance to throw a draw for Team Whyte as well.
Line's great.
Love to throw a lot of those early in the game if you can.
Line's great. Top line's great. Line's good.
Top 8 now.
Line's great.
Why go?
Go then. Top line.
It's pretty good from Robin Bryden. Not fully buried, but close enough.
Board. Arjuna 11.
This is really the opportunity that Muskatewitz needs to be able to use that corner. If they can play board weight, roll away, at least you're setting up an indirect multiple point end. Just start calling those MPEs. Multiple point ends.
Okay, MPEs, I like that. Oh, and that will not get exactly behind the corner and does not get either of the yellows out for Benny Cap.
It hit just wrong to not move that second one far enough to sit number 2. Whyte's still going to hit number 3, though.
Yeah, I think at this point of the end makes sense. Only 6 rocks left. Second stone here for Robin Bryden.
9. Clean. Carl. Carl. Carl.
You'd love a little roll in here, and that's maybe a little further than they would have liked it, but still pretty good. Whyte lies 3.
Yeah, they seem happy with it anyways. I agree with you. I thought maybe they'd just be playing a short roll under the corner.
Fast 8, weil wir ziemlich voll treffen müssen. 8. Als am Outturn, es bleibt ziemlich gerade. Der Outturn wird turn. Hey. Oder? Outturn ist gut, ja.
Playing this one with weight. Trying to make the double, I believe.
Good. Oh, straight.
And they won't. Okay. They do get shot, but it is wide open for Ross Whyte.
There's a bit more gradual down here. Somewhere in there.
So you heard the conversation there that Ross Whyte wants to roll under the center guard. Robin Bryden was a little concerned that if they hit and roll off the Yellowstone on the right, as you're looking at it right now, that it might be hard to get at it. And Ross said, okay, let him do that. Let him try that. If he doesn't make that, we're stealing. So love the confidence from Ross Whyte here. Just have to be careful not to jam it on that back yellow, regardless of where you're rolling.
Der wäre fast noch an der Guard hängen geblieben. Den wollte schon auf Curl und dann ist er wieder zurückgekommen. Aber ich bin auch die Kante, die immer da sieht.
First stone for Ross Whyte here in end number 2.
11.5. 11.5. Other way. Other side. Straight. Whoa. 11. Yep. 11.
So now calling an audible here, just maybe a little more weight than they were expecting from Ross Whyte.
A little more weight, and unforgiving track too, John, coming off of the crowd side, the wall side on the end sheet. Not at all surprising to see a hit, even with soft weight, run on that track, but very good audible by Robin Bryden to roll that away and make sure that you don't jam on the back, recognizing it early enough.
Yeah, it was good communication between the sweepers and Robin too. You and Kyle saying right away that they were a little heavy, and sometimes as a sweeper you can even tell when you're above the rock that the line is wrong. You just get a sense of where the rock is on the sheet or where it is in relation to the center line. And it seemed like you and Duncan recognized right away that maybe it was not only a little heavy, but not exactly on the right line. Giving that information to Robin, he confirms the call right away, and they end up with a pretty good result. So Mark Muskatewitz maybe changing his mind here. Might draw instead.
Vorne Beißer 4.
Was looking at the hit and roll.
Ja, nur Beißer. Ja. Aber mit dem Roll hat Felix schon recht, den kann immer hinterher fahren, der liegt over T dann.
I just wonder, Tyler, if no matter where they draw, it's chaseable for Ross Whyte. I think with where that center guard is, it probably is.
Yeah, it's really difficult to put this in a spot where you're shot rock and you can't dig it. So
Genau 5. Also Beißer 4 Fuß braucht man.
at least make sure you get to second count. But, I mean, you kind of just have to let them chase wherever you're going because you need to be shot after this.
Yeah, I feel like I'm hearing Mark say Fünf, which is 5. And so 5 would not get them shot. 5 would be just in the top 8. But he might have been saying like a little better than 5. I don't know much other German. In any case, we'll see where it ends up here. First stone for Mark Muskatewitz, trailing 2-0 early.
Nothing really good.
Yeah, nothing really yet from Felix and Johannes.
Yeah, it's going to carry too far, though. Definitely going to come out the other side.
And just not quite dialed in for that one was Mark Muskatewitz.
If you get to nose on this soft weight hit, even if you jam on the back, I think you're sitting. Yeah, you probably need to be a little high side. Your ideal spot to leave it to make a score tough would be nose, but you won't be sitting 4 then. You're probably sitting 2, so maybe catch this just a sliver high. You can roll away to the side of the 8-foot and make him draw against 4 too, but I think you're more concerned about making the score tough.
I'm happy with just rolling away. Make him draw against
I'm also comfortable going that way. It's just making his shot as hard as I was thinking.
I quite like just that hair high.
Yeah. If you're going a hair high, you have to miss the back once. You might leave this.
No, I know. I'm pretty sure hair high you're gonna miss the back one.
I thought you was.
Well.
There is a spot you can hit at a hair high that Muskatewitz can't nose back and score too.
Left for a run. I don't seem doing that. But if we're
or score as well, not score 2.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
2 will be out of the picture.
Yeah, going to be very tough for Muskatewitz to score 2 unless Ross Whyte totally bungles this. Last rock for him here in a very well-played second end for the Scots. Looking to put the final stamp on it.
11.5. Oh. 11.6. Oh. Oh.
Duncan McFadgen trying to bring this one over. Oh boy, this is wide. Duncan really needs to lean on this. And he does. Great sweep.
And not a bad result. If you're going to be on the wide side, that's exactly where you want to roll to.
And so we are going to see Mark draw here. I thought we might see a hit and roll. He doesn't have to roll too far off of that stone on the right as you're looking at it, but preferring the draw, he did just throw it. But it is against 4.
Always good to throw the exact same shot, and threw it right into the 4-foot on his last, so nothing different. Just throw exactly what you just did. Should be fine.
Final stone, second end. Mark Muskatewitz drawing against 4, needs a piece of the 4-foot.
Sweepers aren't real excited about sweeping this one, but starting to turn now, so should be okay.
Yeah, we haven't seen them fully back off of it, which suggests it's probably close. And indeed, it's very close. Right on the lid for Mark Muskatewitz. So he will put 1 on the board, but Ross Whyte will get the hammer back with a 1-point lead in the third.
Every day you go new places.
A small change in how you do things, or moving your things to a whole new town, or many things to many towns all at once. No matter how small the move, it can be a big leap from where you are now. You've got it in you to go new places. So do we. We go there every day. We're here to help you move to places on the map, in the mind, in the heart, or all three.
Go new places with AMJ Campbell. Contact us at 888-AMJ-MOVE or amjcampbell.com.
Leitung.
Well, Tyler, through two ends, pretty confident start for the Scots, and Ross Whyte, solid 2 in the first, and just a really well-managed end in the second there. Never really looked like Muskatewitz was approaching a multiple score there.
Never a bad thing to make your opponent throw against 4 on their last shot, and Muskatewitz did draw the forefoot for their single, but Team Whyte has been in control thus far, and may see 2 centers from Muskatewitz here with that high one.
I think you still need less. We're trying to cross the line.
Yeah, I think they're playing the tick with what they're talking about. So they're trying to cross the line, but maybe they're just trying to cross the line to under the guard too.
Yeah, I think that's maybe what Ewan was referring to. I don't.
Top 8's great.
Yeah, I think they're just looking for top 8 here.
Line's good.
We would have been surprised to see that shot selection, though, in this situation, with that off the center.
Yeah, for sure. Was definitely an option. Rolled 2 corners, maybe just feeling like the guards would be too high if they did do that. So it comes around for Ewan Kyle, maybe a little deeper than they would have liked, but behind the guard. And indeed, we are going to see the double center for Mark Muskatewitz, as I remind you that there are 3 other games happening this morning. No other feature games. We're the only one with commentary and player audio, but we have Xenia Schwaller leading Carrie Anerson 2-1 in the third. Schwaller has the hammer. Beside them, it's Unji Gim against Satsuki Fujisawa. Gim also leading that one 2-1 with the hammer. And right beside them, it's Joel Retornaz also sitting at 0-2 and fighting for his life. He's down 2-1 to Brad Jacobs, and Brad Jacobs has hammer. So identical score lines across the sheets here, Tyler, as every team that scored 2 in the first forced their opponent to 1 in the second and has the hammer here. All games available on the home team network.
Nice morning for those that like symmetry.
Yes, exactly. Very much so.
I almost feel like with all that symmetry, we need the Masters music in the background, too.
Yeah, you're getting dialed into the golf here.
I was listening to the theme song last night to get ready for the next 4 days. You don't really have to be a golf fan to appreciate that theme, but it doesn't hurt. This is basically the biggest 4 days of the golf year if you're a golf fan.
Top 4. Line's good. Top 4.
I mentioned Unji Gim out here as well. It is Korea Day here at the AMJ Campbell Players Championship, and tonight it's Korean night as all 3 South Korean women's teams in action tonight. Unji Gim, Unjung Kim, and Sung Yoon Ha.
Please tell me that means there's going to be Korean barbecue available.
That I don't know. That I don't know, but I do know there's a bunch of Korean fans coming to watch the game. We're going to have some celebrations celebrating the fact that these Korean teams have been such a great part of the slams this year. We've seen Kim and Kim on tour for quite a while now, but Ha coming up right behind them. Very strong young team, and hasn't made it to a slam yet, but Bo Bae Kong just behind them as well. So a lot of great teams coming out of South Korea right now, particularly on the women's side, and we'll be celebrating them tonight here at the Players Championship. So make sure you don't miss it.
Wir müssen doch nur halb treffen ungefähr. Also 5.
Back to our feature game, and
5 hier hin.
this is aggressive as Ewan Kyle puts both of them behind the double centers, and now we're going to see a freeze attempt into the middle of these two yellow stones. Is Felix Messenziel trying to go?
This is what we're used to seeing from this German squad.
Bisschen eng.
No fear with the draw.
Haarlinie. Haarlinie. Haarlinie.
Line holding again the straighter side of the sheets.
Hart. Komm, bring vorbei, bring vorbei. Good.
I believe it just touched the edge of the guard on the way by. Still buries a small piece.
We're just trying to roll the Whyte a bit more weight. Whoever
hat
flipped the
einen
yellow,
Hammer.
it's not awful.
Da liegt wieder alles irgendwo im 8 Fuß rum.
10.5, 11.
Aber was wäre der Vorteil gewesen?
Like the shot.
Also,
And just if you move this
ich
out
glaube, mit
here and
Pack
they
halb
hit one in
treffen,
here,
gibst du halt
got a
genau
lot of work to
die
do.
T-Line.
Sorry?
What'd you like?
Ja, wäre schon auch gegangen.
How close do you get to those doing that?
So Messenziel doesn't quite get the freeze, but does put it in a spot where it's potentially usable. I think that's what Ross White's trying to mull over right now.
Make him make something.
Yep. This sits pretty nice. We can't really do much with this. Just try and bump with the freeze.
Yeah.
Probably need like back 4 T-line.
Huh?
It's a good chunk of this, mate. You happy with
Ja, so schlafen zu können. Was ist denn das eigentlich für eine Marke?
Back 4. Clean. Just back 4.
So just tapping up their own here. Duncan McFadgen.
T-line. Clean. Clean. Just T-line.
Yep.
This is the side that we've seen speed come off really hard too, and that's exactly what's happening on this draw tap.
Keep it on that line, Ian. Keep it on that line.
Yeah, just a little lighter than they wanted there from Duncan McFadgen. They were hoping to tap up their own yellow, but it's again not in a terrible spot, Tyler. I think for Muskatewitz, you have to be a little wary of the fact that Whyte is currently sitting 1-3-4.
That's the one that everyone's had up front end, but we didn't have a note on it.
Yeah, they're going to have to move those stones around. You probably can get number 1 out and get the yellow rock you're raising to kick to the open.
The same with out turn as well. Mine's just carved to there. Don't mind you taking it, like that's slow. What stone do you want? Take your pick. I've got a cutter or I've got a slow stone. First one seems like each time it's okay.
So you can hear them discussing Team Whyte. I mean that maybe Duncan's first stone is a little on the slow side. But as you said, Tyler, I think it's not, it might be the stone, but it is also just potentially that side of the sheet as well that's a little slower.
Yeah, we've seen that consistently happen on that side. So I wouldn't point fingers at the stone too early on that one.
Ja. Weil wenn wir hier hinlegen, spielt er den Roll.
Should run fairly similar to my line.
Ja, machen wir 10. 10 leicht außen.
I don't think you have much choice but to play this shot. Anything else,
Ja.
draw-wise, would be extremely aggressive. And you can get a couple shots out of this. If you make this short run, again, the number 1 should kick to the open, and the shooter probably guards up your own stone.
Hurt. Oh, clean. Yep. Yep.
Got to get by the center, though. That did not miss by much for Messenziel. And they get those yellow rocks separated, but all 3 stick around.
Yeah, problem is left the pocket with the 2 reds in the house, so you're going to be looking at 4 which they did last end,
Yeah,
too,
exactly.
but this time they have hammer.
Yeah, and it's early, too.
You shouldn't go anywhere.
This is, yeah, getting to be a little bit of playing with fire here for the team from Fusen. Expect this to be made by Duncan McFadgen, and then it's going to be some choices to make for Team Muskatewitz. It does roll through the middle of them and into the forefoot, but thankfully not behind the tee line.
Erstmal Freeze, nicht schlecht. 5.
I wonder if you were max size, to be honest, because I kind of thought at that weight it would track a bit.
And looks like a freeze here, called for Benny Cap.
Do you think it would have curled more easy though?
I'm not sure if it was a good thing or not for that to squeak through and go deeper into the forefoot. It leaves the freeze for Muskatewitz, but if it had just nosed in that pocket, they'd have the hit and roll to be shot. So this coming up short, now I would say it's a good thing that it squirted through.
Uh-oh.
This is big trouble now.
Yeah,
for
that was not the right time for that miss.
Vorhin ist der erste oder der zweite, was Benny als Draw
It's never a good time for a miss, but that was a bad time.
Zweiten Stein den Draw gespielt.
Yeah, generally just don't miss if you can avoid it.
I always
right?
tried not to when I
Was war der
played.
zweite Stein vorhin im ersten End?
We top one, top 12.
This is one of those situations for Team Whyte, Tyler, where you go, well, what do? We don't usually practice sitting 4 after our first 4 rocks with the hammer.
Yeah, it's all about trying to take your opponents out away.
What was this?
They have that hit and roll.
If we miss it, we're right in.
They have the short red run.
I know, but this is the only thing that's really helping them is that.
I think we can make both pretty hard with this kind of tap.
Okay.
Dunk's throwing it.
It's kind of a tap split here. Trying to move that rock in the top of the 12-foot. And have the shooter roll a little bit so that you take the inside away for that hit and roll that Ross was talking about.
Sorry?
Quite like this.
Okay.
Again, same track that we've seen really die. So you got to make sure you're there.
Back line! Back line!
They're calling back line now. We'll see if it ends up being back line.
Yep.
Just through!
Hard. Up. Hard. Yep. Gotta go.
What's good?
Hard. Whoa, whoa.
It's heavy.
Yep. Whoa, whoa.
So they got the one. Do they roll over to protect the roll in? They do. That's
pretty much what they're looking for.
Really good from Robin Bryden.
Yeah, taking that hit and roll away was so big, John. That was the rock they were really worried about. It's the one on the side of the 8-foot.
Well, that's one of those where Ross Whyte was kind of saying maybe we have to tick off the rock that was in the 8-foot there to not give them that. And Robin kind of said, no, give me the harder shot. I'll poke the one into the 4-foot and guard that one. And when you say that as a third, you better make it. And Robin did, and they're lying 5 here, and there's no easy out for Muskatewitz anywhere.
Yeah, they have the in-turn draw, and they have the short either tap or run on the red on the wall side of the sheet.
This is starting to get very, very scary for Team Muskatewitz. This is a shot that Benny Cap has to have.
Ihn ist okay. Ihn ist gut. Verlänge. Hey, ihn ist gut. 5,5 bis 6 ist gut. Hey, Wechsel. Linie ist. Ja, straight. Yep.
Trying to hold this one straight. This does not have a ton of weight.
Pretty good spot.
Yeah. Yeah, that ended up going a little further than I thought it was going to. The sweepers kept it moving nicely at the end, but it is still Whyte line 2.
Yeah, and really difficult to do anything with that stone.
3-2, Rob.
Sorry?
You like 2?
Think so. Single.
15-4.
Does look to be 2 yellow.
Yeah, that's what it looks like to me as well. So when in doubt, peel the guard.
Wouldn't mind seeing him try to peel the tight one instead.
Easy.
Well, unfortunately, our dream of an 8-ender is about to die.
Not yet. Okay, now.
Den einzigen, der aktuell hat, ist so. Nochmal die. Ja. Und die Zweiergarten nochmal gut. 1,5 bis 2. Aber sonst geben wir ihm den.
Yeah, it certainly looks like it's Whyte from our camera angle, but they seem to be a little bit in doubt about who is second shot.
Ja, die Frage ist,
Still not a great situation for Muskatewitz.
Zweiergard hinlegen. Weil der einzige, der er noch hat, ist der hier mit den 5er. Man muss aber hoffen, dass er drüber läuft. Wir? Ja, der wäre natürlich richtig schön, aber was passiert, wenn man zu voll treffen? Was 10 wird es denn spielen?
Genau, ein Timer-Ding, wenn wir das jetzt nicht gegen
ja.
Calls treffen, dann verlieren wir. Aber ich glaube, die Guard ist der Call. Ich weiß nicht, ob die Guard der Call ist, weil ich weiß nicht, ob er... Wir haben nichts anderes. Die Guard nochmal... Er kann halt auch einfach so spielen, 3, dann steht 5-1.
Oder einfach einen reintrauen.
Ja, dann müssen wir ja vor.
Ja.
War jetzt besser, oder?
Richtig schöner Stein wäre halt auch der hier.
Timeout called here for Mark Muskatewitz. Coach Ryan Sherrard will come out and have a talk with them.
Beide roten kriegst du echt kaum weg. Ja, außer er liegt natürlich dann genau in der offenen Lücke, dass er so rumschießen kann. First I thought the guard, but then he can just draw for 3 and then it's yeah. So low, a little bit high side. Yeah. And sticks here with this one. Stick here. Yeah. Leicht außen, ja. So now no hit and stay. Yeah. Yeah. 10.
So Ryan Sherrard was pretty confident about what he wanted the team to play. Gonna run this red stone back onto the 2 yellows in the 4-foot. It's risky. If you miss it on either side, you're in huge trouble.
Yeah, you also could have just played the intern tap. The red stone, same path that they just threw. I don't want to hang this one at all. The good thing is that as long as you don't hang it, that red counter is dead buried behind the center guard.
First stone here for Mark Muskatewitz. That's very good.
Yeah, they like that one. That's now sitting first and third. Angles play into a jam on that number 2 counter as well.
Yeah, they ended up getting, I think, the most they could have out of that stone.
I don't like the 5's going. I think the 7's going like, I think if you get the 5 to plump there, And then what's he?
Oh yeah, that's not bad at all. Huh? I think if you get us across this side, it might. You've got enough big gap, it might.
Looks like he goes into one, but if you can get rid of two of them and leave him sitting open, then.
So you heard Ross say big peel. He's gonna fire this red one in at those two there.
It was lean forward in your chair a little bit when you hear that.
Yeah.
Big peel.
Sorry, what did you say?
I'm gonna fire this one is what I'm saying. Get ready to catch stones.
Yeah.
I'm standing up for this one.
Nice. Yeah, I think they're thinking because of the jam on that yellow, the bigger weight they throw, the more action they might get off of that yellow jam. We'll see here, Ross Whyte, first stone in the third.
Need some shirts that say big peel.
Yeah. Definitely,
parking lot.
This one is coming in hot here. You and Kyle trying to make it curl. Oh.
Ooh.
Okay.
I don't think they ever thought they could do that.
I don't think we saw Germany sitting 3.
No.
Going to Ross's final stone, but that's very likely going to happen right now.
Yeah, looking like Whyte may score quite big here to a really good steal opportunity for Mark Muskatewitz. If he makes this hit and roll good, it's going to be really tough for Ross Whyte to get out of it.
Well, the weight was there.
The weight was there.
Big peel.
It was big peel. He didn't lie about that. But yeah, a little unfortunate there. Didn't make contact with both reds.
Gleiches Eis, wir haben gerade leicht außen getroffen, also mit einer 11. Ja, schon gut.
If you roll in here, it's kind of a tough score for Ross.
Very much so, yeah. So final stone for Mark Muskatewitz and a chance to completely turn this end around.
Whoa, whoa. Whoa! Whoa!
Sounding close.
Easy.
And that's pretty darn good. Mark Muskatewitz lies 3.
Schon, oder? Aber diese Kantenfahrt hier, das ist ja eine ganz wilde Fahrt. Siehst du die einzeln? Ja. Deswegen haben wir auch so viel Peppel zwischendrin, weil dann hier.
Oof. Another look at this one from Mark Muskatewitz. Good sweep there from Scheuel. And it just rolls pretty much right on to the pinhole. Leaves a sliver of space here for Ross. This is no gimme here.
You can also equally just about go.
And this is what we've seen from this German squad too. Things turn in a hurry when you play the finesse game as well as they do.
Just a touch, yeah.
Yeah, and when there's so many rocks in play, you always have options. And they took full advantage. And I'm just thinking back to Benny Cap's first stone. After he missed that first one, you kind of thought, geez, they're going to be drawing dead this end. And now it's a really good chance to steal. Ross Whyte needs to find the pinhole here. Facing 3.
Line's great.
Easy. Whoa. Whoa.
Back button.
Line's great.
Easy.
Rocks definitely glide a little more on this side of the sheet.
You and Kyle trying to bring this one over now. They like the weight. Will it have any of the line? This needs to stop. This needs to stop. Ooh, boy, it's a steal of 1 for sure. And we'll wait for indication, but I do think it was a steal of 1. Yeah, steal of 1 there for Mark Muskatewitz. We're all tied.
That's the fastest line in the sheet.
Let me say what's best for me, to feel at ease, to feel happy. Lovely weather with the breeze, the simplest things. Sad love.
Rio Mare. Great taste needs little. Prime quality tuna and selected olive oil. Rio Mare, the real taste of Italy.
What a swing there in that third end. Ross Whyte, lying 4 coming into third stones, ends up drawing against 3. Could not find his way to the pinhole. And now we are all tied up at 2 here. Whyte does still have the hammer in this fourth end, but Tyler, that was a big momentum swing in that third end.
Things can turn in a hurry with this Muskatewitz squad. Looking at 4 and not much way in, and all of a sudden, a couple shots later, Whyte has to draw the pin against 3. Gives up the steal. So again, just more of what we have seen on a consistent basis from this Muskatewitz team. Their ability to draw, to not just get themselves out of trouble, but to put pressure on their opponent.
Rush that way, mine will be good. Probably a touch tight. Mine will be good. Good.
So we'll see if Whyte can get things back on track here. First rock just slipping into the house for Johannes Scheul, but ignored by Team Whyte.
A little surprised they're not hitting that stone as you still stay out of the rings playing the hit. I would not want to give up position in the center of the sheet to this team.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. It kind of felt tight with my hand.
Yeah, looked like Ross Whyte had to sprint off for a break, so Robin Bryden making the call not to hit the red stone in the rings. We'll wonder if Ross will go, what the hell?
Robin, you didn't hit this? All right.
Yeah. Come on, guys. I go to the bathroom one time, and you leave this rock in the top 12. I'm sure that's something the team would have talked about, how they want to handle those scenarios.
I think they were quite certain Mark was going to throw the guard. Maybe didn't discuss what if it slides into the paint and we can hit and stay off.
Line only. Clean. Whoa. Whoa. Carve. Going back.
Really hard to get that to Barry over there.
Yeah, it looks about half open. Half, maybe a thin half. Definitely chaseable for Felix Messenziel. And especially with that red one in the house, Tyler, you don't mind chasing here. Trying to lie too.
It honestly went almost. Genuinely, like once you get past it, it just went in a dead straight line. Okay. Get from it. Holy God. It's probably just about what yours get by.
Clean. Yep.
His hat going chase.
Clean. Hat. Whoa, correct. Yeah. Push clean.
See if this finishes on this track. It looks like the exact same thing. You just can't get that over some kind of ridge that's close to the wall there. And it's not curling hard off of that line. It's almost like there's a trough or something because the soft weight hits are still kind of running on that path.
Ross Whyte deciding not loving the setup here, so
they're going to hit that rock that's
exactly.
just fighting, or try to.
Yeah, double chance here for Duncan McFadgen.
Straight, yep. Hard.
Well, they wouldn't have wanted that to happen.
Next.
So a litany of guards on the left side of the sheet here. Mark Muskatewitz going to try to come around. Over on sheet A, a big 3 for Kerry Anerson in the fourth end.
Broadcast bump.
Hard
yes, exactly.
Just delayed.
Yeah. They now lead Xenia Schwaller 4-3. Schwaller will have the hammer after the fourth end break.
I think they played to tick the guard there as they didn't want to go behind the tee line.
Yeah, once they realized the weight was heavy, calling an audible, rolls into the great wide open.
That's kind of close to this. Good, just play that.
Yeah. Yeah. Good.
10, 10, 5.
Should curl a wee bit down here. 10.
10.5. Please, 10-3. Not curl yet, no.
Hit and roll here for Duncan McFadgen.
10-3. Yeah, whoa. Curl.
Needs to find a little late finish here to get that roll, and it does. Very nice from the Team Whyte second.
Mit dir nicht schlecht.
10-1.
Good job. 10. 3/4.
Wait was spot on. I think you were just scared to curl it early, just get a chance to move by itself. Yeah, I know.
Whoa. Whoa. Hurry. Whoa. Hurry. Hurry. Whoa. Clean. Yep. Hard.
Short run here, and that's also made.
Nice touch, a little unlucky. Rock stays right in the port.
12, go 5.
Yeah, the shooter just rolling a smidge for Benny Cap.
A couple of mines down here, it runs nice.
And you get a good look at it there. That rock's going to be probably fully exposed for Robin Bryden from the right-handed hack.
12.5. 12.5. Almost 12 seconds. Hurl. Carl. 12.5. Hurl. 13. 13. Hurl. Whoa. Carl. Carl. Hard goes.
Nice roll underneath.
Yeah, nice
center,
shot.
even though it doesn't clear that stone. With Hammer, they're not
Komm dran.
real concerned about it,
Die
but
Seite curlt eigentlich bei ihm ganz gut.
definitely playing hard for 2 now.
Okay.
Wait, can I come off it when we start?
Problem ist, wir können nicht so schießen, weil der ein bisschen höher liegt.
Good job, though. Made the roll out so much more.
Wir können auch einen drum rumlegen. Genau 7.
Ist natürlicher Winkel, gelb auf rot.
So?
Ja.
Nee, dadurch, dass der Gelbe weiter oben liegt, ist der Weg zu. Also erst ab hinten 8 ist er frei. Sogar ein bisschen später. 7.
So they're looking at some chase or hit options. But as you said, Tyler, this is a team that loves to draw, and they've elected to take the draw option here, coming around everything.
Playing to their strength. So you make enough of these and you see results like we had in the third end, but only would have taken 1 miss for that to turn the absolute wrong way.
6,5 bis 7 wäre nicht schlecht.
Just get on the roller coaster, hold on tight with this
Linie
team.
ist sehr gut. Linie ist perfekt. Okay.
Scheuel and Messenziel leaning on this one.
Linie ist perfekt. Sind vorbei. Curl.
Oh, that's a really good sweep.
Yeah, great sweep, and definitely feels like something the sweepers are adjusting to here, that it's not the best ice for carry, and so you do need to get on it maybe earlier than you would on other surfaces.
And keep the broom down too, that's the biggest thing. You know, stopping tends to kind of hit the brakes, even if you get up for a second.
Yeah, really well managed there by Felix and Johannes. Muskatewitz lies 1. This is chaseable for Robin Bryden, but it's no picnic.
Clean. 10-8. 10-7. Clean. Up. Carl. Whoa.
Gets it to turn over enough to clear it, but or at least chip it to the back. Doesn't stick around though.
Yeah, you heard them say just maybe a little more weight than they were hoping for from Bryden on that one. So another draw around everything for Mark Muskatewitz.
Pretty much same shot as they just threw, but wanted to carry another 2 feet probably.
Yeah, if you could get this one fully buried, you'd feel like you're in pretty good shape.
Sieben wäre super.
Sieben, der geht ziemlich gut. Yep, yep. Sieben.
Den ist gut.
Yep. Linie. Yep, Linie.
This is really curling now.
And speed's coming off this one a little more too.
Yeah, Schoyle and Messenziel trying to get this one there. You got to get by the top. They do. Wow, what a sweep again.
That's so good.
Schoyle on the hold there.
Just
really well done, and that is
fearless on these shots.
It's dead and gone there. But yeah, like I said to you earlier, we heard them say, paper the guard. We just paper the guard. If we just do that, we'll make the shots, no problem.
Yeah, just talking about it in terms of, all we do is make it.
Yeah, just make it. You just make it. It's really hard. You just make it, and then it's no problem.
Yeah, just shut up and make the shot. Jeez.
Das die Spur gewesen, wo ich vorhin gegen 4 gelegt hatte. Und gefühlt ist jetzt nicht so satt ausgelaufen wie vorhin.
Really well made by Mark Muskatewitz, and so that's going to force a double run here out of Ross Whyte. If you make it, you could be line 2, but it's a big ask. This is not easy. First stone here for Ross Whyte in end 4.
Easy. Clean. Help.
Straight.
Straight. Wow. Yes.
And how about
look
that?
at
That is beautiful shot making from Ross Whyte.
And that raised rock rolls under the corner too. What a shot.
That is fantastic from Ross. Take another look at it here. And that's a long run back too, Tyler. Not easy, about 8 feet back.
And to get that roll underneath is so big too, because there really isn't a lot of room for Muskatewitz to roll to not leave it to with where that guard is. So they're talking about, I think they're talking short roll, but all the way under the corner would be the one that's the safest roll.
Yeah, it's not super easy either. That center guard complicates it a little bit.
It's really, really tough to roll under center and not leave it dig. So I think if I'm playing it, I'm trying to roll all the way to corner.
I think that is what they're trying. I think you're exactly right, TG.
Aber schau mal an, ich habe ja kaum Luft. Wieso nicht? Wollen wir ein dünnes Halbtreffen? Haben wir doch hier genauso gemacht. Das sind wir auch mit 11 über einen Meter gerollt.
Yeah, as you can see, it's a long roll. You're rolling almost 6 feet across the house. So final stone here for Mark Muskatewitz. He's gotten himself out of a few jams. We'll see if he's got another one here.
Yeah, just make it.
Just make it, baby. That's it.
This needs to turn over to get the long rolls. Turning now.
Messenziel trying valiantly to get it to curl, and I think he did, but are they rolling too far now? Are they rolling too far now?
Man, alive,
wow, what a shot. Mark Muskatewitz.
Just shaking our heads up here in the booth. I mean,
no kidding.
These shots are way harder than it looks like too. I know you have 2 guards to roll under, but you have to stop for shot.
It's just tremendous from Mark Muskatewitz, and not only is it hard, Tyler, but he's had to do it every end. We haven't really seen a super easy shot from Mark Muskatewitz. He's had to make these kind of 4- and 5-star shots every end just to keep his team hanging around, but he does find another one here in the 4th. So Ross Whyte forced into the draw for a single, just needs half of the 8 foot. Final stone. Ewan Kyle doesn't love it out of the hand.
It's close. We're good now. Line's good.
Yeah, I think it's probably always going to slow down on this track. Ooh, will it slow down? Yes, it does. So Ross Whyte will score 1. Muskatewitz will have the hammer for the first time in a few ends after we take this 3-minute break. Don't go anywhere.
Let me say what's best for me, to feel at ease, to feel happy. Lovely weather with the breeze, the simplest things. Sad love.
Rio Mare. Great taste needs little. Prime quality tuna and selected olive oil. Rio Mare, the real taste of Italy.
When you've conquered another game, a long day, a job well done, and the final work call, we're your place. Come as you are and fit in comfortably. Mr. Mike's. Eat locally, enjoy casual.
Ja. Ich habe beim Joel zugeschaut, das sah ziemlich eklig aus. Ich bin verstört. Wieso? Irgendwie, ist das dickflüssig oder? Hier hing halt so ein Tropfen und dann rotzte das Ding so hoch. Also. Ryan, haben wir 30 Minuten eigentlich das Spiel? Ja. 31.
Halfway. Just past halfway to me, but halfway. Line's good. Line's good. Carl, touch. Hard, Robin. Okay.
Hello, curling fans. Welcome back to continuing coverage of the AMJ Campbell Players Championship. Live from the Mattamy Athletic Center here in Toronto, Ontario. John Cullen alongside Tyler George for this men's Draw 8 game between Ross Whyte and Mark Muskatewitz. Both teams really need this victory. Ross Whyte sitting at 1-1, doesn't want to fall to a losing record. Muskatewitz at 0-2 probably needs this win to keep his playoff hopes alive. And it's been a great first half, pretty much exactly as you predicted, TG, when the game started. Mark Muskatewitz, a lot of rocks in play, not afraid to have to make the really tough shots and the really tough draws to give themselves opportunities. And Mark himself has really had a fantastic game, bailing his team out when needed. And it's tight. Ross Whyte leads 3-2.
That's why these games with Muskatewitz involved are always really interesting to watch and to call, because they make enough of these shots that they win the vast majority of the time and frustrate their opponents so much, as you feel like you have them. And then Mark makes something like that, or they make a freeze or a draw to get themselves out of trouble. And I think Whyte's probably scratching their head right now. You know, even with the lead, 3-2, going into the second half of this game, they probably feel like they should be up by 3 or 4. But
on board.
Yeah, they've definitely had the control of the play. I'd imagine the team percentages in favor of Whyte. They've really been the leader in every end, but yeah, Mark Muskatewitz seems to have the answer.
Easy.
So we'll see what they can do with Hammer here in the second end. They didn't really have a great look at it. We're never really looking like scoring 2, so we'll see what they can do here.
Good.
Another thing to mention, Tyler, both teams not looking phenomenal on the clock. Typically you want to be around that 16-minute mark at the fourth end break. I mean, ideally you'd be around the 18-minute mark, but 16 is acceptable. Both teams were sitting around 14 when this fifth end started, so we'll see exactly how the teams manage that. Something to keep an eye on. Muskatewitz has also burned one of their timeouts, so.
Now you're talking about 3.5 minutes per end for the last 4, which is manageable, but you'd prefer to have more for the second half of the game and thinking about shots late in the game.
Nice hit and roll there from Duncan McFadgen behind the 2 guards.
11,5. Ja, 11,5. Da 11.
Might finally see the game speed up a little bit here, as if this double peel is made, then we may be heading towards something resembling a blank or a simpler end, but you never know with Mark. He is trying to make this peel in a way that you could roll their own red onto the rings.
Yeah, they're not playing this with a lot of weight, so they are hoping that the shooter stays for a corner and the red rock spins in off the yellow into the rings. So creative shot from Mark. Really hanging on this line, though.
Yeah, Shoyle trying to make this curl. And it's not going to do a whole lot for them. Leaves that red center guard up right in front of that Ross Whyte Yellowstone. So we're going to get a double guard here from Team Whyte. You heard Ross say just over.
This is really pushing hard for the force. You know, maybe you can attack for a steal later in the end, but they really want to make Muskatewitz take a point. If they're able, be a tie game, 3 ends to go, and you're probably having hammered twice, so would be advantage Whyte.
Okay, line's good now. Guard. Guard.
Would have loved that one over just a little bit so that this yellow is not diggable. But I don't think that matters a whole lot. Muskatewitz probably
Jetzt
gonna
einfach
throw
so
it
nehmen, dass
regardless.
die Mitte offen ist. Über Köln. 7 ist gut. Yep. Hard. 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 Hard.
And the double peel made by Felix Messenziel.
A good result there. Opens up the counter and rolls over for a corner, but a wide one. Safe spot.
Tie! Tie!
Carl.
Josh, on the logo, just short of it.
Carl.
Das war smart.
Hard.
Ich hab gewusst, was du machen musst.
Need to bring this one over. Duncan McFadgen really leaning on it here. That's a good curl there. Nice sweep from Big Dunk.
7.
Good one, because we kind of took the same ice as Duncan and had to form his. It wasn't until you were kind of out and about that it was like, oh.
Lead. Yep. Yep. Hard. Lead.
Ooh, do they get that yellow out? Yes, they do. Good shot from Benny Cap.
I heard clean at the end of that shot. Better make sure it's going if you're calling that.
Yeah, no kidding. That was maybe a little closer than they were expecting.
I think there was a clean. Oh,
Oh, oops.
What, just
Oopsie.
good enough.
Does leave the rock close enough to the center, though, that you'll see a come around here out of Robin Bryden.
Line. Easy. Line's good. Line's good. Well touch, yep.
He's good.
Whoa, whoa. Where's good?
Fight in the 4.
It's pretty much perfect from Robin Bryden.
Can't hand place that one better. Fighting like crazy to try to get this force.
Yeah, we have seen Muskatewitz really turn on the Jets here. Talk about them being a good drawing team, but they definitely have all the shots in the bag.
A little bit of a set on that one. You could see the rock going backwards out of his hand.
Yeah, Johannes tried to bring that one over, but to your point, Tyler, I don't think it was ever going to get there with that release from Benny Cap. Maybe slid a hair tight and got it started. And we know on this ice, not going to be much forgiveness for that.
Yeah, that was all in the release. Just set it out on a line. Hard to bring it back with that weight.
Well, all the way back. I think that's the best result.
Yeah. Or even could we make it easier and just do that? And we're going to be beating this one over here, and then we'll swap it to next one. I guess it's just one more time. Well, as long as it's thin. So we've got some relief in here.
Yeah.
I think it's harder to go that way. And if we put it to here and he hits and rolls under, then always back 8, back 12.
Now they're pretty certain they can get their force. So if they're certain that they can, then Muskatewitz may try to find a 2. So you really don't want to leave that roll under the corner. That's what they're talking about. They want to tap this stone back and roll a little bit so there's nothing to get to the inside. That should kill the opportunity for 2 and still keep the force in play.
I got a touch more.
Just chip it, can I?
Yeah, back line.
Yep. Speed's nice, yeah.
So just a little backline chap here for Ross Whyte. Try to get some separation here on these 2 yellows.
Just through. Need to touch it. Close. Yep. Wait's pretty close. Yep. We're just through. Straight. Straight.
Yeah, that does leave the freeze to get shot rock. Kind of thought they'd try to cross it and roll underneath on the high side.
Yeah, Robin's rock was perfectly buried there. It was a little interesting for sure.
Yeah, I don't know that I agree with that call. So he made it pretty much as good as you can make it. The freeze is there to set up too, and there's not much Ross would be able to do with it if this is made. Even Ross, I think you could see from the body language after he made it, he's kind of looking at it like, I don't think that's very good. Wait, we're under a corner and they can freeze.
Yeah, yeah, I think you're right.
And
yeah, you hear that's what Ewan, exactly that's what Ewan is saying to Duncan right now.
Why didn't we cross?
The classic front end conversation.
I agree with
what is the back end doing?
Easy, whoa!
Opportunity here for Mark Muskatewitz. Have to make this good though. This freeze is no gimme. Felix Messenziel trying to bring this one over. Looks like it's got a little too much weight on it.
It's pretty good.
Does leave Muskatewitz shot.
Tough to get there, but it hooked big at the end, but with a carve, with a draw, you're not going to see that big of a turn with enough weight to tap this out of count.
13, 13, 2.
Really, really precise shot here. Have to get so close to the guard. And if you have to sweep for line, John, you're holding the curl too. So you kind of have to lob this one out and try to walk it down with the carve, but late.
Tricky last shot for Ross Whyte. Skips have kind of flipped roles here. Usually this is Mark Muskatewitz throwing the tough one, but this time it's Ross, fifth end. His last rock. Leading by one. Needs to find the inside of this red stone. You and Kyle desperately trying to bring this over. Does it go far enough now? No.
Yeah, I think they're really going to question that shot call on the first one to leave this for Muskatewitz. And now, shot for two.
That was really looking like a force at the start of the skip stones, but Ross Whyte opened the door for Mark Muskatewitz. And he is primed to walk right through it here. This is an open hit for two.
I'm just laughing. You cannot leave this team an opening at all. It's like, oh, we can draw and freeze? Well, we got you.
Yeah,
it's
totally.
done.
I agree.
You just have to be banging your head against the wall right now if you're Whyte. It's like, what do we have to do to stay ahead of these guys? But this is exactly what we talked about from right before the game. That this is what you expect with this team.
Final stone, Mark Muskatewitz.
A little grimace from Mark. I don't think he likes it.
He plugged this out a little bit, but Felix Messenziel with a great sweep. And
that's a heck of a carve.
Ends up being no trouble at all. So two will go up on the board for Mark Muskatewitz, and they will take their first lead of the game. They're up 4-3.
I've stood at the pinnacle of curling and battled in the most intense games.
Out on the ice, there's no room for compromise.
And when the pressure's on, every millimeter counts.
It's not just a game.
It's about maximizing performance,
pushing limits,
seizing victory.
When victory hangs in the balance,
I know what I'm relying on.
it's a gold line.
it's a gold line.
It's a gold line.
And it's the choice of champions.
Right. Die hat noch Platz, aber ist gut. Kann wechseln.
They're still making some shots here, boys. They're just kind of getting out of every end.
You and Kyle trying to rally the troops here. That's a classic lead behavior. I know that all too well. Yes, exactly. Really, you know, we talked about it last end, but the ends have really all been Team Whyte in control. Even that fifth end, they were in control for a large portion of that end. Just unfortunately, maybe not the right strategy decision with Ross Whyte's first. Mark Muskatewitz making them pay, and they now have the lead for the very first time. Up 4-3 here.
Yeah, they're saying what we're saying. Just we're playing well. We're putting ourselves in good positions. Just keep making shots.
Yeah, it's really the differences at skip, just looking at the percentages on the GSOC app right now. Big leads at every position, especially second. Duncan McFadgen at 90%, Felix Messenziel at 60%. But Mark Muskatewitz throwing 98% to Ross Whyte's 80%. And when your skip is throwing 98%, that can paper over a lot of the cracks, TG.
Skip's throwing in the high 90s. You're going to be in the game no matter what. for Ross Whyte, again, you have to just try to stay the course. And I kind of go back to a few calls, too, that's, you know, even going back to not hitting the biter in the top of the rings in the fourth end.
Rich good. Under brush. Maybe slightly just by it. Easy. Whoa, whoa, no. No.
And this is where you get in a little bit of trouble with Muskatewitz, too. You got your corner up, you got underneath it, things look good, but you're already looking at a center and a rock underneath it. Now they're coming in again, chasing these stones against a team that draws as well as they do. I really would be focused on trying to beat this team in. You know, I know you're behind by a point, and you got to play a little more aggressive now, but throughout the game, leading up to that point, a couple ends they did a very good job of getting in first and getting Muskatewitz chasing, and they still were able to find their way out, but eventually you got to feel like they're going to miss one of those shots, and that's where your three comes from.
So a couple behind the center here for Team Muskatewitz. It's going to force the run back out of Duncan McFadgen here. Just taking a look at the other games out here this morning. Carrie Anderson has fully flipped the hammer on Xenia Schwaller, forcing her in 5. It's now 4-4. Anderson with the hammer in 6. Beside them, Satsuki Fujisawa with a big 2 in the 5th end. They now lead Eunji Gim 4-3. Gim with the hammer there in 6. And Brad Jacobs made a phenomenal shot in 5. Angle run 4-2. They lead Joel Retornaz 4-2. Retornaz with the hammer in 6. All games available on the Home Team Network. So Duncan doesn't quite get rid of both red stones, but gets rid of 2 of them and moves the other one off the center line. So Felix Messenziel is going to try his hand at the run back here. And it's going to overcurl.
His roll in front of the #1 counter on the opposite side, so maybe a little bit of a break there, but still something showing. This is that same path, though, John, we saw really tough to get finish on.
Thanks so much.
We'll see if they remember that this is kind of troughed here and really need to get it to turn over at the end with the carve to get enough of this to stick around.
Yeah, we've seen this is probably the straightest spot on the sheet.
A little set back, too.
12-6. Clean. Weight's good.
And there's the curl call. This has to curl a mile.
Oh. Yep.
A really good carve sweep to get it to go.
Yeah, helps when you have you and Kyle on the brush. Nice shot from Duncan McFadgen. Whyte lies 2.
A good touch from Duncan. Good weight to get that to turn, and I think that's kind of how you have to throw that shot to get it to curl, is set it out on the line and then turn it. If you're throwing it tight and sweeping and holding the line, you're not going to get the finish that you need.
Hit and roll back here for Benny Cap.
Yep. Clean. Whoa. Whoa. Is it cut? Clean. Straight. Yep. Hard.
Pretty good on the roll again.
Yeah, almost fully buried. Does poke out the other side slightly. Probably about half open for Robin Bryden, but they're going to ignore that fact and play the short run back here.
It sucks.
And again, calling for the curl right out of the hand. You definitely don't want to spill this yellow.
Okay.
It's pretty good from Robin.
It's going to take some smoke to lose both yellows.
Ich glaube, der Double liegt nicht da.
I think you can hear Mark indicate the double's not very easy.
Also rum ist ein bisschen gefährlich. Ich bin den gerade her, schiebst ist er covered hinter dem Ganzen hier. So. Gut. Sein ist in dem Bereich vorhin sehr gerade gelaufen. Easy. Go. Hurry. Hard. 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 Über die Center. Hard. Noch ein Stück, noch ein Stück. Oh, 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 oh. Sehr schön.
Very good shot there from Benny Cap.
Yeah, that's really precise again and tough to dig. A key shot here for Robin if he's able to play this.
Ziemlich lecker.
Hack weight, solid hack, and try to roll all the way to the back of the 8-foot would make the double really difficult. Could set up the 2 with this shot.
12. Clean. Yep. Oh, 11, 8. Clean. Yep. Oh. Clean. Yep. Hard. Yes.
Looking for the big roll here is Robin Bryden.
Oh, that's really good.
Great separation there between those two yellows, and that's a very steep angle for any potential double.
Perfectly done by Robin.
Look at this, eh? Wow, we just draw around the center
you
guard.
got to do it now.
10.5?
No, all right, now I'm calling for the hit. But yeah, I think it was a reflex, John.
Yes,
okay, there's a guard.
exactly.
We're going under. Wait, we're up 1.
Yeah.
Okay,
we're up 1, and that's a yellow guard. If they make the run backward. Oh, they're going for it. Oh, no, they're calling the hit
they're
roll.
calling
okay.
it. Okay. That would have been something to play the draw there.
Oh, I loved it.
10.5.
Now you can get under with the roll, too. So 2 ways they can make this one. You can roll underneath the yellow guard, or you can roll all the way over on top of the yellow in the back of the 8-foot. It's a really deep roll. We did see Robin Bryden just make that shot, though. Maybe that was just for us.
That was just for us.
Just call the draw, just for a second.
Just give them a little glimmer of hope here.
Von Geben.
So they're trying to roll behind the guard, but they're actually going to roll
close.
past everything, really close. That's going to give the opportunity here to Ross Whyte. Draw around that center guard, and it's going to be very difficult for Muskatewitz to prevent them from scoring 2.
And don't you dare go behind the T line on this one.
Yeah, that's really the only thing that would be a huge mistake.
You don't need to be completely under here, like. Half of the 4? Go 4? Yeah. This line should be still the same speed as you 2 and 4.
A little touch off it.
Yep.
First stone for Ross Whyte, 6th end. Looking to draw around the center.
Back it!
You're struggling.
Should get this one to turn on this track.
Fill back it, Robin. Fill back it.
Oh, this is going deep, though.
Yeah, you don't like to hear back 8. Oh boy.
That's a big error there.
Huge error for Ross Whyte. Really unfortunate. Don't see Ross miss those too often. Especially when your opposite number is playing so well, you don't want to give them any opportunity.
I'm going to bet they end up drawing here, too, just because it's not an easy hit on the number 1 counter, and it's tough to not leave a double back. So I think the draw is kind of the shot right now.
Ich finde nicht schlecht, weil muss ja erstmal hier rüber tappen und dann. Die Spur kennen wir ganz gut. Bis jetzt hatten wir immer so, dann gehen wir jetzt so. Außen. Weil ich glaube, solange er so angreifen muss.
Und er hat noch den Run, aber
den Run, ja.
darf da eigentlich aufpassen.
Ja.
Haben wir den?
Ja, wenn er einen Halb hat, dann hat er den Double, wenn wir den gelben abspielen. Einmal.
Das ist genau deine Spur.
Das ist genau meine Spur.
Deine Lieblingsspur.
Von 4. Ja. Wenn nicht, geh mal hinten auf den, den er gerade gespielt hat. Wenn der fließt, ist es.
Bisschen eng! Sind schnell! Ruben! Kann noch hinten drauf!
Final stone here for Mark Muskatewitz, 6th end.
Genau, freeze, wir dürfen nicht kurz sein dann.
Chance
genau,
to try
freeze.
to cut down Ross Whyte. Looks like he's quick here too.
That path must be picking up speed.
Yeah, they're going to freeze on this back yellow, and that's probably going to be good enough to force Ross into a draw for one.
You're awful for straight left in like every single swing. Really? Yeah. It's horrible.
Try to.
You don't try very hard.
It's actually very obvious, like right here.
And normally I do this.
Yeah, but it's just here, and then you're going to do that.
Yeah, I probably.
Little conversation there about lifting the broom in front of the stone.
Like,
I liked the comment. Johannes saying, "Well, I try not to do that," and Ross and Robin saying, "Well, you're not trying very hard." I didn't see it, but yeah, definitely must be something that
See a third of it.
Team Whyte picked up on.
That's not something that you mention if it happens once.
Yes.
So I'm guessing that this is something they're seeing repeatedly with lifting in front of the rock.
Yeah, we saw that at the Women's Worlds with Team China. There was some consternation from Team Homan about that.
From honest boys, I don't know if it's there on either turn.
He's trying to see if there's a way to get two here. Usually when your opposition misses like that, you kind of think, okay, well, we must have something to do.
We're going to get one.
Yeah, nice. Throwing like just through probably. Like that, like a 13.
And they think that they can move that red.
Trying it in the end. I don't think it's there on either turn, but
Boy.
it's one of them where throwing it in the end turn, you're going to get one regardless, so you're as well getting a goal.
Yeah, they don't think that there's any way they don't get one regardless playing the shot as long as the weight is there. Shooter's never going past that pile.
Do we think it's there? Otherwise, we're not taking on.
I think it's not close to being there.
Robin Bryden seems to think this is there. The front end maybe doesn't agree, but they're going to try it anyway. Final stone here for Ross Whyte.
12-8.
Looking for two.
12-8.
Needs to just move that red shot stone far enough. It's definitely close. I think they've got the line right. We're going to see if it's there. Is it there? Nope. It was not. I think they hit it almost exactly where they wanted to, but
I don't think that was there at all. I mean, that stone was never coming off, and you would have to move your other counter in order to move that far enough.
So they will settle for one. Muskatewitz will take the hammer in a tie game into the 7th end.
The 2025-2026 Grand Slam of Curling schedule is out, with big events happening all over Canada, like the Masters heading to London in September, the Tour Challenge from Nisku this October, the Canadian Open from Saskatoon in December, and the Players' Championship from Steinbeck coming in January. Early bird weekend and full event passes on sale now at gsoctickets.com. Let's rock!
Starting to feel like the momentum is maybe tipping in the favor of the Germans here, TG. It is 4-4. Mark Muskatewitz with the hammer, but Ross Whyte just hasn't quite been able in the second half of the game to take advantage of some of the mistakes of Team Muskatewitz.
That one was all on Ross's first. Your 2 is basically set if you make that draw, and you don't have to make it great. Just anywhere, basically top 4 underneath that guard, top 8, and you're almost locked in here too, but just threw it deep to the back of the 12-foot.
Der hast jetzt gerade gemacht, du. Oh, nicht zu tief.
Well, this will be interesting to watch this end now, John, with Muskatewitz with hammer tied up playing 7. If they continue to just pressure, or if they play a 0-2 type end, as you usually see in these situations. And with the 5-rock free guard zone rule, you've seen teams play much more defensively in the 7th end, thinking that even if they get their 2, it's not as much of a lock to win the game as what we've seen in the past. So teams really preferring to be tied up with as opposed to 2 up without, so playing this particular situation more conservatively, more for the blank.
Easy board.
Unfortunately for you and Kyle, that guard slips into the rings. And so again, you talk about momentum, that's a bit of a momentum killer there from Ewan. This will allow the Germans to get at the rock just thrown by Ewan.
Yep.
Yeah, good way to set up your 0-2.
Feet. Yep. Feet. Feet. Easy. Feet. Close. Yep. Wenn ihr ein bisschen shooter.
That's well made by Johannes Scheuel.
Yeah, rolling to the wing. Closer to it. Good result. So White's going to have to put a little more pressure on themselves now.
Tight.
Okay, line's good.
Easy, Robin. Easy, I think you got right to it. Almost in.
Go then.
I think we're almost in. Line's good. We're pretty good now. We're still really tight.
So they are still looking for the second center guard here, even with Team Muskatewitz lying 2, and this one is also going to slide into the rings. No, yeah, it does, just biting.
Den gleich rein, nicht schlecht. Wo der auch so nahe liegt, den kann man immer reinschießen. Der beißt im Haus.
I was going to say, I was a little surprised to see them maybe chase the one just thrown and not peel this top one.
Ist wurscht, wie du magst.
Score update for you. Carrie Einarson with a huge 4 in the 6th end against Xenia Schwaller. Einarson now leading that one 8-4. A loss here would drop Xenia Schwaller to 0-3 and probably gets rid of their playoff hopes. We do the odd time at the players see a big log jam at 2 and 3 and you have a shot at a playoff spot, but most likely you won't. Another guard up here for Duncan McFadgen.
Can I go, Ross?
Okay, all you then.
Really trying to get the force on or give themselves an opportunity for a steal.
Line's good. Wait's good now. We're on the brush, Carol.
Carol.
Really leaning on this one to try to get it to turn over.
Sorry there.
That's in a pretty good spot there. Peel again for Felix Messenziel.
Just because it didn't commit your hand quite the same. Just didn't hand as much, so I thought, oh shit, this is going to more run quite as far. It's a good shot.
Ein bisschen.
No trouble there. It is still Muskatewitz lying the 2. And they are going to guard again. Looked like Ross was contemplating a different tact here, but...
Well, I'm sure when you're playing this type of end with the score as it is against Muskatewitz, you're thinking they may attack earlier than other teams do and go away from the peel. So it's just thinking, at what point is Mark going to change gears? How long can we throw these guards before they come in again and we're looking at 3?
So much, I gave him less ice and so much more aggressive. Was meint ihr? Ich glaube, auf 0 gehen wir.
Unfortunately for Robin Bryden, that one doesn't curl enough, does leave that closer center guard almost wide open for Benny Cap.
Wir können hier ins Haus rollen.
Worst case scenario where that center is still open, so now they can clear it and roll onto the paint.
Können auch die noch nehmen. Einzige, was hat, ist den hier.
We're still talking about the double peel, though.
Für die Situation, wenn die vorne weg ist, gar nicht so schlimm.
Maybe a case here, Tyler, of wanting to potentially keep the blank alive as well.
Eigentlich schon, ja. Doch, doch.
Yeah, the angles aren't great to not jam into that rock in the house. I think they'd take it every time if they knew they could lose both and one of their own in the house. So there's only one counter in. You just don't want to stick it in and then end up in a spot where you could get forced.
Again, not a ton of time on the clock for either of these teams. Both are flirting with the 5-minute mark. Muskatewitz only has 1 timeout. So they will have to play this last end and a half with a little bit of pace. They don't have to go crazy, but definitely something both teams will have to manage here. They have decided to play at this center guard closest to the rings. This was Mark's initial call. This is so often what happens, Tyler. You end up just doing what your initial instinct was.
Usually it's the right instinct, too.
Yeah.
If it's the first thing you see.
Yep. Ins Haus. Schön.
Well, it's a really good spot to leave that, too. Angles are very good for Muskatewitz. So now Whyte has to change gears and hit something in the house.
Yeah, lying 3 now is Team Muskatewitz. Ross thinks there's a chance to get all 3 reds here.
Play that. If they ever take this on, miss it. It's okay.
Is that there, the triple? Definitely.
It's close to it. You see that? It's as thin as you can.
End turn.
Yeah.
You're just kind of papering the top one if you're going to get all 3. If it ever hits it just a hair too thick, you're probably still leaving 2 in.
Yep. Oh, whoa. Yep.
Just like that.
There they go.
Very nice from Robin Bryden.
Huge shot there from Rob.
Yeah. That actually went pretty easy. I thought the shot was trickier than Robin ended up making it look there.
Yeah, they all went out for fun.
Yeah.
It wasn't even close.
So nice shot there from Robin Bryden. Well spotted by Ross Whyte as well.
Whoa. 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 Hurry. Hurry. Hard. Alles klar. Big roll. Hard.
Trying to roll all the way open side. Cap, and this is 100% playing for blank now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ross really needs to get the roll underneath. One of these 2 shots.
First stone here for Ross Whyte. 7th end, looking for a roll under the center guard here after a great triple from Robin Bryden.
10-8. Oh. 10-8. Oh. Carl. Oh. 11. Oh. Straight.
It's cool.
Straight. Easy.
Clean. Yep. 11-2.
Oh.
Yep.
Oh, no.
It's pretty good. They don't get the full roll underneath, but it does bury a piece. Certainly chaseable for Mark.
Yeah, you're going to roll away as far as you can, but have to stay on the paint. Don't give a free look at the draw. It's looking very blankish right now. So tough to get the roll on this side of the sheet too, John. You're right in that trough area where they're trying to play it from, and getting it to turn. Once it goes, it could snap pretty good, so it's probably the hardest spot on the sheet to try to play a hit and roll from.
First rock here, Mark Muskatewitz.
Yeah, it's going to make it really tough again, right back in that same area.
We have our first final here. Xenia Schwaller tried a double for 2, got the double, but unfortunately her shooter rolled out of the house, settled for 1, and a Carrie Anderson 3-point lead with hammer was deemed to be enough. So Xenia Schwaller offering handshakes, Carrie Anderson moving to 2-1, Xenia Schwaller dropping to 0-3.
I'm really surprised they're not playing the draw here, John. I mean, you can make it with the roll. It's a really tough roll, and your worst case scenario throwing the draw is down 2 with if you don't make it. You really don't want to leave the blank if you can avoid it, and you could still get the force or the steal playing the draw.
Last rock here for Ross Whyte. Trying to get a hit and roll and potentially get a force out of Team Muskatewitz. It sounds close.
Yeah, it's just so hard to get that to turn over on that line. I mean, you're watching it go down, and they're calling close, straight. And, I mean, we're looking at it here. Kind of thought that needed to curl the whole way just because of how we know that line tracks.
Yeah, very tricky for Team Whyte, and as you can see, this rock wide open for Mark Muskatewitz. Blank attempt here, it would allow them to keep the hammer into the 8th. Final stone. And as you would expect, no mistake made there from Mark Muskatewitz. So we will throw a couple zeros on the board. Ross Whyte will need to steal this win. Don't go anywhere.
The rock faces around Lake Tahoe are legendary. But this fall, new ones will emerge in the Tahoe Basin. Pullman, Moe, Gushu, and more. November 4th through 9th, the Grand Slam of Curling's first ever event in the U.S. is coming to Lake Tahoe, where the greatest rock stars on earth unite for 6 days of incredible curling, celebrity appearances, and après curl parties you won't want to miss. Get your tickets at thegrandslamofcurling.com. Let's rock!
So it all comes down to this, tied 4-4. Ross Whyte, Mark Muskatewitz. The Germans with the hammer here. Looking for just over out of Ewan Kyle. No doubt we're going to see the double centers here from the Scots. And it really has been a story of 2 halves. Ross Whyte in control for most of the first half, but Mark Muskatewitz has been full value here in the second. We talked about it to start the game. Muskatewitz at 0-2 probably needs this game to keep their playoff hopes alive. And for Ross Whyte, trying to avoid falling to 1-2.
14,5 habe ich.
Don't want this too deep if you're Johannes Scheuel.
It's pretty good. Maybe a couple inches deeper than you'd like, but good spot. Deep enough they can't come around it.
And the second center will go up for you and Kyle. Last end he put this one in the house, so even more crucial here in the 8th that does not happen.
Rush down, rush down. Coming down.
Great.
Yep, yep. Yes. Hard, Robin, you got to go. It's good.
Hard. Line's great.
Oh, I guess they were playing the freeze. My apologies. Thought we'd see the double center for sure.
Run.
Yeah, we've seen that a few times on tour this season where teams elect to throw the freeze as opposed to the second guard. Usually it's when the first guard is thrown kind of in a tweener range, John, so it's tough to get separation. That one seemed like it was high enough that they could still get a tight one in, but I guess they just thought with where that first stone went, they really need to get that position. If they don't, they're locking another one on there, and now it's going to take 2 shots to move both. So I understand the logic with it.
And getting a miss out of Johannes Scheuel here, that helps.
Yeah, that's not a great spot.
Just short.
Everyone top again, Ross.
Time.
So Ross Whyte smartly recognizing they only have 2.5 minutes on the clock here, but they do have both their timeouts. So this is a critical juncture to get the strategy right. We will listen in as they discuss their options.
To move it now, because if you throw the tight guard at some point, you might not be able to move these very far.
Do you ever try and line these up and get this back here a bit? Like if we're throwing this in here, whereas Mail try to make it as good as possible and put this somewhere we can use it.
We think he's straight ripping or having a crack at it. If we bump, is he having a crack at running something? Because even if he's on the outside of his red, it ends up.
No, because we're never really. I mean,
he's straight ripping it so long. I think it's probably a shot.
Well, I mean, I think we need something kind of back here. Like even if he does make contact with that. No, well, I think even if he does make contact with that, if we've got one here.
I don't think we can. You're either throwing the tight guard or you're playing the bump now. Because you throw the freeze and he rips, you can't play the
bumping. Let's be bumping those and try and line up.
Yeah.
So you're just gonna
No, I think you want to line them up.
You can line them up.
So this is going. If he ever does make the run, it's going straight up to.
I think getting the one at the back buttons are.
It's a line shot more than anything else.
Try and get this one to here, Ian.
Yeah.
As long as we're right in the nose, we're in a good spot.
Ross's initial call was to throw the second center guard, but they are going to come into the house here. What do you think, Tyler?
Yeah, I think in is safe. Your reflex is always to say, you got to have another guard, but it's going to be really tough for them to move those around for Muskatewitz if you just lob this into the pocket or dead frozen on your own.
Back button.
So you're mapping the end out for how the rest of it goes. If you weld here, they're peeling. That's how many times are you replacing. If you get to skip stones, and that's still the situation, you're looking pretty good. Can't have this over curl, though.
Yeah, they were hoping to hit that yellow and maybe even move that red on the button.
That's not great.
No, not at all. You could get everything moving here whenever you need to. Straight peel here first.
And now if you map this end out, it's you don't have a great shot to do it in one shot. That's the key. For Muskatewitz, as long as they know that there isn't a single shot that's going to kill them, when you get down to skip stones, then you can be content to peel this out right to skip's last. If they'd made that freeze, you probably would have to make a move on it, on at least skips first to move things around. But there's really no fear of this setup right now. Should, as long as you make simple shots the rest of the way through, have a relatively simple shot for the win.
Almost on the logo, Ross. On the logo.
Line's good.
Just on it. We're right in the middle of it.
On the logo.
Yep.
Really don't want this too deep, too. You may give Muskatewitz a chance to drive this in and move them around already. Yeah, I think you hit this 3/4 high.
Ich würde nur den hier nehmen. Die liegen gut für uns.
Yeah, hits to the top one. Shooter rolls away. You're making it even tougher on Whyte to try to figure out a way to steal.
Yep.
Big shot here.
Yep.
Felix Messenziel
Hard.
trying to make some noise.
Fest.
And this will just be a straight peel. Looks
I
like
thought
maybe that
they'd
was
try
the
to move
call.
balls around, but yeah, they called that straight out just for the straight peel. They talked about it briefly too. Do we want to hit this to the high side or just clear? So that says a lot about what they think Whyte will be able to do with these angles now. They're not afraid of leaving it as it is, as we said earlier, right to the final stones.
Dann machen wir es genau wie das Finale. Eins fein. Wenn sein Fünfer anspielt.
So, no, we're top 12.
Gelben drauf, und dann kommt der andere ins Spiel.
Lock it.
No.
We're to them like.
I don't know what you want me to do. Über die Nase hauen.
This one coming in all the way full onto the paint.
Ja, jetzt will ich einfach alles wegnehmen. So.
Now I think you're probably going to see them try to move things around because you can roll the shooter all the way off
2/3 innen.
and lose a couple.
Yeah,
fliegt
it's
zwar auch alles rot,
very
aber der ganze
unfortunate
Vierfuß wird
for
frei.
Team Whyte. Just really
So.
haven't been able to get it together here in this eighth
Viel ab,
end.
ist gut.
Starting to really look
I know, but he's also telling him, don't touch it.
like this is going to be a Mark Muskatewitz victory here.
You got to make sure that the shooter goes away. Can't leave the guard.
Ja, turn. Okay.
No, that's not ideal. I mean, they left the shooter right on the center line. So now it's a double guard situation for Whyte. And they are count too. So if you ever get something in, then Muskatewitz is going to have to stick around too.
Just pass halfway. Easy, don't easy. Whoa.
I don't know that they improved their situation that much.
Yeah,
with that
it
shot.
might have made it worse actually.
We're halfway. It's coming
It's just
down
the
now.
shooter was the key. As long as the shooter goes off with that shot, you're
Just on
fine.
the road,
Great,
maybe
yeah.
just past it.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I'm a little maybe unlucky for Benny Cap there.
Well, they took Broom on the center of the stone to start, so they were trying to get it to turn off the center. Which, if you're throwing peel and starting it at the center of the rock, then you never want to have to hope it's going to leave the middle of the rock. You're throwing it at the one spot that you can't hit. That one just has me a little confused.
Yeah, maybe a couple baffling decisions here from Mark Muskatewitz. Also had the chance with Felix's second to maybe make a play at the run and decided not to do that. So, yeah, it's very interesting.
Nee, ist gut.
Whyte will have some time to discuss this here as they still have a timeout for Ross's last. Okay, they are actually going to take the timeout now. Discuss exactly how they want these last two stones to play out.
I don't think there's a right or wrong answer, to be honest. Like,
Weil wenn da liegt, natürlich.
Single and if we throw it down.
Ja, stimmt schon, gell? Wenn wir den Double nicht schaffen, sind wir nochmal die Guard vorne anlegt. Gut, aber dann kann. Ja, dann muss er perfekt liegen, dass ich nicht den Ball sehe.
Well, we're thinking going T-line now.
Ja?
If it messes it in the top 8.
Also wenn.
wow, you think they can go there? If it messes it, it's still got this in it.
We're hooking one there, right? We're going deep enough that you can go to the top. That's pretty thin. Yeah. Because if we, I think if we're going in here now, he's playing then.
I think you have to guard again.
Guards need have to contact for when that's the only problem with guard. Like, I agree, but if we can put it to a spot where he's needing to run this, he's killing his shooter to the point where he needs to stick the double. So it makes sense to go in.
Back button? What is
Yeah, put it as far back there as we can. think so.
So they're going to come in here, Tyler.
Yeah, I heard back button the call, so they want as much separation as they can get and still have it be a useful counter. Thinking that if they stick the run, then they can freeze. They always have the in-off off their own, too.
Just quickly, we have another final. Brad Jacobs needed a draw to the pin for 1 in 8 to beat Joel Retornaz and found it. So Jacobs improves to 2-1. Retornaz drops to 0-3. Ross Whyte trying to also improve to 2-1 here, looking to draw back button with his first here in 8.
Don't want to touch it.
Line's okay.
Wait's getting better.
Whyte should come down on this track more than the opposite side.
T-line.
Let me get T-line at least.
Yeah, they're calling T and he really needs to go to get to full 4. It does get all the way to the top of the button, but again, just not gliding as much on that side of the sheet. And you're hearing the call from some of the best weight readers in the world consistently this week, a couple feet short of where it's ending up.
Good call this week.
Nee, ich will schon 9 kommen. Weil wir schauen, wenn wir ihn verpassen, dass wir wegrollen. Was für eine Länge? Ich würde auf jeden Fall schnell kommen, also schnell genug, falls wir nicht treffen, dass wir weit weglaufen. 9. Wir rollen halt dann vor denen, gell? Also ich bin Nase nicht.
It's going to be the run back here for Mark Muskatewitz.
9 leicht innen. Wenn hier liegst, jetzt immer recht gerade, gib mir einen Touch weniger. Nur der Intern hat zu viel geköllt. Ja.
Yeah, you're fine with sticking it, I think, on this line. Rolling open is good, too.
Whoa! Whoa! Yep!
And stick it, they do. Very nice from Mark Muskatewitz.
That's a really good spot. Now the wrap has to get all the way to the back of the button to not have a 2-foot run.
Yeah, it was actually worked out well. I think some fans might see that and think, oh, you want it to be dead buried behind that guard, but this was actually the perfect shot.
Yeah, they actually, if they could see 2-3 inches more of the stone, that would be their ideal spot. But does make this draw a lot tougher. So you got to wrap as much as you possibly can, go as deep as you can, and still be shot.
Yeah, no matter where you put this for Ross Whyte, Muskatewitz will have a shot for the win. Whether that's a draw or a short slash.
Yeah, and still has the in-off, too, if they prefer that one. I don't see the in-off being played just because I don't see a spot that it could end up where there isn't going to be an easier shot.
Final stone here for Ross Whyte in the 8th. Tie game. Needs to make this one count.
Straighter side, should get some glide here. Got to be careful.
Yeah, sweepers like it. You want to be as far back as you can be, but still shot. This needs to slow down. And that is pretty close, I think, for Ross Whyte. Really good shot.
So it might be the one spot you could throw it to that the in-off might be your best option. It's a little thin.
Yeah, really well done from Ross Whyte there.
And this is why you wish you had a couple more inches of that red stone, too.
Yeah, totally. So final timeout called for Mark Muskatewitz. Coach Ryan Sherrard out to discuss.
I think I like Back 4. Wir haben knappes Halb halt nur, das ist das einzige Problem, dass wir knapp an der Guard vorbei müssen. Andere Alternative wäre der dünn, aber der ist schon sehr dünn.
Also ich mag deinen ersten. Oder halt den Draw, ja. Aber
Ja, das ist schon schwer. Bei dem Tap, wie viel können wir denn, wir können ja selbst halb fast treffen.
Wir müssen schon ein volles Halb treffen, um Kontakt zu machen.
Ich will gar keinen Kontakt machen, ich würde einfach nur auf die T-Line schieben. Yeah, I like the tap. Like this weight. to make sure we.
It's really hard to play the intern side and follow
Ja, nee, ich würde schon hinten
what
ab.
Ross
Ja.
just
Also
did,
die Länge
because if
hier.
you're playing
Ja.
for the
Gut.
tap
Wir hätten jetzt
to
immer,
move it out
also
of
so sind wir
shots,
bis hier über
it's a
Curl.
little
deswegen
weight
finde ich
sensitive
das
on
Eis
that
eigentlich
track.
ganz gut.
This tap's no picnic either, though. We know this is
Wir
the
können auch
slower
Half gehen, wenn ein
turn.
bisschen schneller ist. Geh mal leicht innerhalb vom Vierfuß.
And you have to get a good
Mach
piece
so,
of it. It will finish plenty to get to that spot, but
You
yeah,
got to get
it's-
pretty close to nose.
this is a really
Ja, ein
tough
kleines
read
bisschen
on the
weniger.
speed.
Okay.
I think, as you said, Tyler, Ross Whyte really putting that rock in the perfect spot to make this shot as hard as possible for Mark Muskatewitz.
And we can go back to the run-in. I mean, the rock that has hurt them the most is the shooter that stayed when they slammed the guard into the pile.
Yeah, it was unlucky for Benny Cap, but we'll see if Mark Muskatewitz can find his way out of it once again. Final stone of the game.
Nimm ein bisschen Linie.
Needs a short tap for one.
Schaut gut aus. Clean, close. Whoa. Easy, Benny.
Nothing much from Scheuel and Messenziel yet. This looks really close. This looks really close. Does it stay on the right line?
Great
Yes,
shot.
it does. Great shot from Mark Muskatewitz. Great game overall for the German skip. Curling in the high 90s. Really giving Ross Whyte all he could handle here today, and it is a 5-4 final. So Muskatewitz will improve to 1-2. Ross Whyte will drop to 1-2, and we will be back in just over 1 hour's time with continuing coverage of the AMJ Campbell Players Championship here on the Home Team Network. You won't want to miss it. For Tyler George and everyone here at HTN, thanks so much for watching. We'll see you very soon. Goodbye.
The 2025-2026 Grand Slam of Curling schedule is out, with big events happening all over Canada, like the Masters heading to London in September, the Tour Challenge from Nisku this October, the Canadian Open from Saskatoon in December, and the Players Championship from Steinbeck coming in January. Early bird weekend and full event passes on sale now at gsoctickets.com. Let's rock!